Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you all to the last regular meeting of the Board of Directors of PPOA this year. Of course, on Saturday we will have our annual meeting, at which time the new officers will be announced. And the three of us in my class will step off the board. And so, as I said, we're down two to go. I'm going to change the order of the agenda, and I'd like to welcome our new board member and invite you all to share in her swearing in. So, Darlene Smythe, if you'd stand. Do we have a mic for her?
I'm good.
You're good?
You can hear me.
Okay.
He wants to
He's got
to hear you up there.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
the trick. Yeah. Now you got to speak right into, not like that. It's got to be like that.
Like this?
Yeah.
Okay.
I state your name.
I, Darlene Smythe,
Do solemnly swear
swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of a director of Pecan Plantation Owners Association
the duties of a director of Pecan Plantation Owners Association
and Pecan Plantation Country Club,
and Pecan Plantation Country Club,
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my ability
defend and fulfill the dictates
defend and fulfill the dictates
and obligations imposed upon me
and obligations imposed upon me
by the governing documents of said association and the various restrictive covenants of Pecan Plantation Subdivision without bias or favor toward any member, so help me God. Congratulations and welcome.
Thanks.
I am going to take advantage of this opportunity to make some concluding remarks that are not as I normally do, and I'm going to invite you to watch the PowerPoint that I have. I made this presentation initially last week at the Breakfast Club, and so what I'd like to do is describe some of the accomplishments that we've made over the past year, and I think that they are significant. Some of what I say will be, in fact, a repeat of my comments to the Breakfast Club, so if you attended that meeting, you might want to take a snooze. But as an educator my entire career, I am well aware that repetition is the best strategy for learning, and so you might want to stay awake instead. When I'm through, I'm going to ask Ross Carnes, also from my class, to say a few words. So, my overall message is a positive one. I want to especially mention that we are fortunate to have serving us a talented, dedicated, and highly professional staff led by General Manager Michael Bartholomew. Michael has put together a team that I feel is second to none in its continued efforts to make this the wonderfully managed community that it is. As a shared amenity community, most of us have an amenity, even if it's just one, that we use. Some of us use more than one, and I'd like to illustrate that notion by referring to the current ballot initiatives that are before us. We are asking we are asking for a $9 per member per month assessment increase from each household to allow us to begin construction and much-needed renovation of selected amenities. The assessment will be used to service a 10-year, no-interest note, whose total interest, I'm told, will accrue to only $200,000 if it is held over the full life of the loan. It will be styled as a line of credit which we can draw on when needed. The projects selected for initial construction are the 19th hole in the Pro Shop and the Marina, and then the ballroom and river room expansion, And then the Brazos Room patio enclosure. Oh, how did that last one get in there? I'll talk more about the fitness center later. We're also asking for funds to construct a 7th tennis court and 4 outdoor pickleball courts. And I think I'm not saying that correctly. We're actually asking for a permission to construct a 7th tennis court and 4 outdoor pickleball courts. Ballot issue 1, of course, requires a supermajority for approval because we're asking for an assessment increase. Ballot issue number 2 just requires a majority vote because we're asking for approval to create 2 new amenities. So these new amenities, we think, and the renovation of the 19th hole and the pro shop and the marina increases the value of our overall community. We know that this $9 assessment increase on the heels of the recent successful campaign to approve a $10 increase for our fire and EMS program has been a challenge. But after careful consideration, the member committees have made their recommendations to the board, and the board has approved those requests for this increase. So the rest is up to you, and we hope you have responded in a positive manner. So I'd like to re-emphasize that each of the projects that the board has approved have been recommended through our customary member-driven committee process. These projects have been developed by members, volunteers such as yourselves. I think I'm getting behind myself. Okay. Members such as yourselves who serve on our committees, and they were developed in concept and planning through the Capital Asset Management Program, or CAMP, and only then were they presented to us for approval. So now, I'd like to list the progress we've made this year by referring to each of the relevant committees and listing some asset or amenity that we share. The list is lengthy, but not so long that we'll have to order dinner before we're through. So here it goes. In our House Food and Beverage Committee, we have seen a continued increase in member use and overall satisfaction, resulting in an increase in revenue. The board feels that this revenue increase is directly correlated with the renovation of the Brazos Room and kitchen, and then subsequently members coming back to enjoy the dining experience at their clubhouse. When people ask, I always say that our clubhouse is the best restaurant in Hood County. So it's the board's hope that the members will have by now voted to renovate the 19th hole and pro shop to continue this upward trend. The Brazos patio enclosure will provide much-needed bar area seating in a more comfortable atmosphere and setting. The ballroom and the river room expansion will provide an extra 200 seats for our membership and guests to enjoy events. We have also changed the way we present our accounting expenses so that we have a more accurate picture of expenses in food and beverage. That results in a balance sheet projecting a near break-even budget for food and beverage, which is, again, an improved reflection of that enterprise. We have approved and funded the much-needed remodeling of the main floor restrooms in the clubhouse, and we hope that that work will begin this month. Our occupancy rates in the inn continue to climb, with the December rate at 45%, and we think this is a result, of course, of successful marketing by our staff. But we think we can do even better by targeting the corporate market for midweek retreats, which will improve that business even further. Our wedding and catering business remains strong, and the proposed renovations to the ballroom and river room will maintain the lawn area behind the terrace room that wedding parties use for photographs. In our golf committee, we have approved the plan for the reconstruction of the irrigation system for the entire golf course, but we have divided it up into 2 budget years beginning in 2019 so that our capital asset reserve fund, which we will use for its financing, will not fall below the $500,000 level specified in our bylaws. We've already begun the process of soliciting a design consultant who will serve as an on-site project manager for this critically important asset maintenance project. Golf rounds played this year remain at an all-time high, generally surpassing 40,000 per year. Tournament participation and couples play have both increased, and kudos go to Bobby White for his continued excellence as our long-tenured golf pro. A continuing agreement with the Squaw Creek course has allowed us to sustain our continuing high demand for desirable morning tee times, as we have been unsuccessful in our position as a possible purchaser of the Nutcracker course, and we have been unable to arrive at an agreement with the developer to build a third course in Pecan. By the way, rumors are afloat now that the Anthonys are talking about building a third course after all. The course condition remains excellent, despite its heavy use, and kudos then go to Michael Underwood, looking on the back row to see if there he is, to Michael Underwood for his excellent work as our course manager and superintendent. We have approved reconstruction of the pond on hole 17. We have approved the replacement of all the bunker. Project that has been budgeted at $65,000. We have completed the in-house construction of the covered outdoor golf center at the entry to the 19th hole and pro shop. And we have approved the PPGA member-driven and funded tournament pavilion project. The ground has been leveled, the concrete base has been poured, and I didn't notice, Michael, are they framing yet, or has that started? So that project is well underway. For our roads and grounds, we have completed the entry repaving project, including the installation of a crash barrier at the entry to the extended member lane. A delay in extending that barrier was the result of the repositioning of AMUT pipelines, and I would note that someone has already tested the barrier before we were able to extend it. We will repair and extend it as soon as possible. We have completed the major drainage project on Westover, a project that was also delayed by the unexpected discovery of encore power lines that had to be repositioned before we could move forward with its completion. And now apparently there is rain damage as a result of the recent heavy rains, and so we may be working in that same area as I'm told. We're in the process of installing a new computer-based gate entry system, one that will simplify its use by members and guests alike. With the assistance of the Pecan Garden Club, we have begun construction of the West Circle project. The trellis, which is essentially a metal sculpture, has now been erected, and when completed, it will serve as the focal point of a landscape that will be compared to the front circle. And we are learning how to apply the information received on the topography of the entire Oxbow area that encompasses Pecan from the LIDAR analysis. If you recall, we secured this information last year, which is an aerial and satellite-based laser system that shows how our surface will drain water following rains and allows us to effectively plan construction. Thanks to board member Dick Kite for finding that new product and championing our purchase of it. Under Daniel Van Patten's supervision, we continue to crack seal all 54 miles of our paved roads annually, thereby extending their useful life indefinitely. We now have a full-time painter on staff whose job it is to continuously paint the property surfaces as they need it. And we continue to follow our sometimes difficult deer management program, which has resulted in a marked improvement of our herd. In sports and recreation, under the supervision of Keith Kasserlin, who is here, we have begun the project to replace and reposition all of our playground equipment, even without a growth in our population. Maintaining that equipment at each of our outlying playground and park facilities has been difficult. We've added a new maintenance position dedicated to the extensive pack grounds. We have also added 3 other maintenance positions, one of which is to solely service each of our playground and park area restrooms, now cleaned daily. We completed the Stables center aisle paving project, allowing for more sanitary maintenance and servicing of the stalls. We have also added strategically placed cameras and lighting to the Stables facility. We completed the clubhouse pool resurfacing, protecting and safely extending its useful life. And we approved funding for our community gardens project. The fencing has been installed, and we're beginning to extend conduits for the Amut water rather than orchard water. The plots will then be constructed and a gravel surface road and parking. I know that you all know this. I do note with some sadness that we have to members who stepped in and voluntarily produced our February and March issues, and many thanks to them. And it still remains a work in progress, but we have completed our new website and we're open for business. We've installed our new fiber optic-based phone system that connects the clubhouse with all of our outlying facilities. This internet-compatible system has brought our long-distance capability up to modern standards. We redesigned all of our wireless communication system property-wide using higher Brazos River Authority towers and installing all new equipment. Some of the projects in this and other areas may not be visible or apparent to the members, but their seamless introduction to our facilities enables us to operate at a high level. Our Marina Committee. I'd note that our Marina and Food and Beverage Committees have worked hard together on responding to members' needs and staff recommendations to move the store and grill project forward. There's no doubt of its need, but whether it will be done will depend on the upcoming election. We've begun construction on a new floating gas dock, and I think it's almost complete. If not complete, it is complete. Almost. Okay. So, when it's completed, it will facilitate the credit card purchase of fuel by members and non-members alike. This project will complement a new store and grill, which, if approved, will make our marina a unique destination and profit center at the dam end of the lake. We've completed and approved the design of the new grill and store project, and we're waiting for member approval of the assessment increase to begin construction. This project will be then scheduled for the 2019 fiscal year. For the air park, we have approved funding for the redesign and reconstruction of Plainview Park. We await the final plans from the Air Park Committee.
The three-year board members, Bob Kamen and Dick Kite, has been a rewarding experience. They are passionate, creative, and hardworking, and always looking for doing the right things for our community. All of the board members I've had the pleasure to work shoulder to shoulder with has helped me to be a better board member and to make new friends. I want to thank Bob Maurer, Lynette Burns, Wally Herzog, John Jakeley, Doug Ward, Dan Kreis, Bill Franson, Doug Green, Roger Reeds, Vince Sprinkle, Bob Cotier, and Joe Harmon. Each of them brings their special perspective to Pecan Plantation. And it is the different perspectives and skills that continues to make Pecan what it is today, and I thank them for their support. In closing, I must address what I think is one of the most dangerous things our community faces. And I'm speaking of the negative comments, personal attacks, misinformation, cyberbullying on display every day on a certain social media website. Despite specific guidelines on how members are to conduct themselves, the website seems to be a platform to divide our community. We are neighbors. We all love Pecan, and while we may have difference about what is best for our community, we no longer speak directly to each other. Some hide behind the glow of their computer screens and try to convince others that they are right and damn be those who disagree with their view of the world. Trying to win is more important than creating winners through open, honest, personal dialogue. We are neighbors. Shouldn't we be seeking to encourage, respect, and treat others with compassion and kindness? Maybe a lesson in the golden rule would be a good way to measure how we treat others. While I respect everyone's right to use our guaranteed free speech, I disagree with those who use it to shout down their neighbors. We are neighbors. I wish the best for the future board candidates and hope they will find their experience to be a good one, and one in which doing what is right for the members is what drives all their decisions. It has been my honor and privilege to support our community as a board director, and I thank you for allowing me this privilege.
Okay, we will go into open session, and Joe Hartman is asked to be first.
Not necessarily had to be first, but I wanted to speak. One, there is room in the ballot boxes if you wanted to put your ballot in there. Contrary to what was believed, there are 3 boxes out there. 2 of them are wide open waiting for your envelope. So please vote. You have until the 11 o'clock on Saturday. As the freshman, number 2, as the freshman member of the board, I want to thank the leadership that I've had under Bob, Ross, and Dick's part of the board. It has been an amazing learning experience for me, and I hope to be able to learn and learn more and keep on going and developing a greater community. Thank you.
And now we have the open mic. Anyone wish to make a comment from the audience? And I would mention that the annual meeting takes place on Saturday. We open the meeting at 11. And after some business matters that are prescribed by our code, we will then close the election and go through the process of counting ballots. Now, they're going to be taken over to the PAC because of the number of ballot issues, and in addition to the candidates, the Board of Directors selection. And so we will recess the meeting until Director Hartman comes back and announces the results of the election. Your guess is as good as mine from how long it's going to take from the time he leaves with the ballots to the time he comes back with the results. And Joe, we're going to presume that you'll be able to give not just the winning results, but also the vote tallies. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. So again, I ask any other comments in our open session? If not, we'll move to the minutes. I'd like a motion to approve the minutes from the February board meeting held on February 1st. Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the February meeting. All those in favor say, raise your right hand. All opposed? Motion passes. Okay, moving into financials. Dick, if you would begin the report.
I have begged off due to a crummy voice, and Bob Cote is going to take this.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Just hit the forward arrow. Yeah, one more. There you go.
All right, I'm kind of filling in for Dick here. I'll do the best I can. So we'll start off by looking at the overall summary for the month. You'll note here that our total revenues were $503,000 for the month. Our total expenses were $549,000, so we had a deficit of $46,000 in the month of January. Now, on the total revenues, although they're $503,000, you have to remember here that half of those revenues come from the assessments, the operation assessments, and the other half comes from our sales operations and other revenues that we have through the business. So the important thing here is we've entered the first 3 months of the business year. Remember, our fiscal year starts the 1st of November. So we have November, December, January. So this represents the first quarter. And our total revenues for the quarter was 1.7 million, and we had total expenditures of about 1.4, so we had a net surplus of 73,000 for the year to date. Now, at the same time last year, we were at about 9,000, so you can see that our business has improved here at the tune of about 65,000, even with a slow month of January. So we're on track for a better year than we had last year so far.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but is January usually a slow month for revenue, Bob?
Yeah, sure. We're about $3,000 or $4,000 below last year. I think last year we were 507,000 total revenues for January of last year. So yeah, we're about even. But you're right, January is not a big month in this business. Now, we want to compare our business total against the budget and the variance, and also, what the heck is that? I'm not as good as Dick with this machine here. So what we have, the total revenues, as we said, 503, we were budgeted for 521. Last year, you see, we were at 507. So we have a variance here of negative 18,000 for the month, this month. Last year, we were at 507. That's what you asked for, Bob. So we see we have a $4,000 difference from last year. So everything else kind of falls in place. You'll see our net surplus deficit. We had a deficit of 46,000. We budgeted for a deficit of 44. So we're 2,000 above that. So last year, at this time, a previous year, we were at 13,500, and the difference here is 33,000. But the big picture, you know, we want to look at the whole year, and the whole year looks pretty good to date. We have that net surplus here of 73, total revenue. So compared to last year, the previous year, we were at 9,000. If you can see there, the previous year at the last line, we're at 9,000. This year, we're at 73. So that's a good sign. Now, if we look at our cash funds, now remember, we show our general operating fund here to have a balance of $971,000 in there. But you have to keep in mind that that is a fluid fund. We run about $500,000 through that fund in a month's time. Our total expenditures are about $500,000. So at any given time, we can be $200,000-$300,000 off of that balance. So that balance just gives us a picture of what it was on that particular date. That doesn't mean we have $971,000 in the bank. And our capital reserves are at $2.1 million through January, but everything in that fund is committed, budgeted for expenditures, I think, in the next 3 years, including the revenues that we're going to get in that fund, that it's going to balance out at about $500,000. Is that right, Bob? In 3 years. So yeah, that's a nice number to look at, but all of that is already committed on budgeted, approved budgeted expenditures. But remember, when we spend capital, it's not like spending operations. We spend capital, that goes on the books, on the balance sheet. When we spend there, it increases the value of those assets on the books. So we have to look at it that way. Now, our new capital fund, we haven't spent anything from there, but we're at $92,000 there. And then our roads and drainage fund, we're at $794,000. I don't know where that stands, but I see some road caving in over there. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we're going to have some money to spend there, I think, to fix that, or is that, it is warranted? Okay, good. Anyway, that's another fluid fund that we're spending as we go along. But the bottom line is that we have a sound financial position. We have a total funds in the bank at that particular time, whatever day that was, the end of the month, I think it is, on the books, right? It was at $4 million. So,
interrupt you. Would you make a comment about what we're trying to do with that money, or part of that money now, for our investment strategy that we've begun to talk about?
I think we did. I think I did earlier. I mean, all of our capital reserve fund at the $2.1 million is already committed to budgeted projects. You know,
investment strategy.
The new investment strategy is what I was talking about, that we've been meeting.
Yeah, I'll let Bob, I'd rather not talk about that right now.
That's fine.
Because we're in the process of discussing that.
All right.
And after looking at what the market did today, anybody that's excited about going into equities today, 500.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, there's discussion going on right now about investing some of our excess funds into some revenue-producing investments without having too much risk. And that's the discussion that's going on here. Bob Zinski and I have a different view on what risk is to other people that have a higher degree of risk tolerance. When it's my money, I don't mind taking the risk, but this is your money, so we have to be very careful. Does that answer it, Bob?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
No worries.
All right, this is where the money comes from. We're now at 3,055 members. Right, the general fund gets $90.75 of your money. 8 goes into the capital reserves, 19 goes into the roads and drainage fund. We have a $14 trash pickup fund that you pay for. And then we have the EMS contribution that's a pass-through. We collect the money through your assessment, and we pass it right on to EMS. So that's basically the big pictures on the finances. If anybody have any questions that I can answer, I'd be glad to do it. Otherwise, thank you.
I would just like to again repeat, Bob, to thank you for helping us to make the change in the way we present that information.
Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about the departmental performances for the month of January, and then we'll go into year-to-date numbers. Security revenue, $19,000. There were 90 traffic tickets written. We have an increased emphasis in both the morning and the evening hours with extra patrols out. And you can see we just had a small miss to budget of $393. Golf department, mainly due to short staffings while the labor is down, and also timing differences. We didn't spend much money on the golf course, but it is budgeted for this year. And so we had a $14,000 positive variance, or spent $14,000 less than our budget. Roads and grounds, it's been a little bit of a slow start, both for resales and for sale of new homes. As you can see, there's lots of homes under construction, but we don't have many homes for resale. Usually, in past years, it was up to 200 homes, and now it's around 50 homes for sale. So the inventory of homes is definitely down. And it's showing itself in both our transfer fees and our initiation fees. And so roads and grounds, labor, $34,000. Again, Daniel is short-staffed. We would have spent a little bit more than that in that department. And you can see the budget for the month, $69,000, positive variance, or actually a negative variance of $20,000. Sports and recreation, believe it or not, the campground revenues continue to remain strong. So we had decent revenues in the campground, finished $2,000 over our budget for sports and recreation. Facilities maintenance, as was mentioned earlier, we do have now 3 full-time facilities maintenance workers. One, as was mentioned, is doing painting, currently painting the golf bathrooms, and then we'll go on to the tennis building. Food and beverage, slow month for food and beverage. Catering revenues were down. We did $99,000 for this month. Cost of goods sold was higher than we would like it to be. And so we did see a negative variance for food and beverage. We lost $26,000 for this month on a budget to lose $12,723. Negative variance of $13,946. Communication, strong ad revenue, $19,840. Labor, $18,500. We paid out some vacation to Mr. Davis, and so we had a missed plan of $5,400 for the month of January. In revenues of $8,400, right about at plan for the month. Marina, all these slips are full. All of our rental units are full. So we have strong marina revenues. Gas sales are down. A small miss to plan of $1,272. Member services right on plan, just a small miss of $210. And our stables is full and it actually has a waiting list. Moving on to year-to-date numbers. As Mr. Cote said, our year-to-date numbers are much better than our January numbers. Security year-to-date, $43,000 in revenue. You can see our labor's up compared to our what it normally is. And we lost $99,000 on a budget to lose $103, positive variance of $4,100. Golf year-to-date, again, a lot of this is timing and short staffing for the golf maintenance department and timing of expenses. And so year-to-date, we are ahead $28,000, or we spent $28,000 less than the budget, which for the golf department, we will catch up through the year. Roads and grounds, $25,000 in revenue. Labor down because we're still short-staffed in roads and grounds. We're down actually 3 now. Lost another individual this week. And so the income or loss was $118,000 on the plan to lose $180, or a $61,000 positive variance to plan. Also something that a department that you like to spend all the budgeted money. Sports and recreation, positive variance of $6,300 for the year, so sports and rec is doing fine. Facilities maintenance right on plan, $3,400 positive variance to plan. And food and beverage, although we did have a slow January, we had a great December, so we're up to $385,000 in revenue. Cost of goods sold is still slightly higher than we'd like to see. But for the first quarter, we've lost $13,000 on a plan to lose $20,000. Positive variance, $7,400 in 61. Communications, $62,000 total revenue. Right on plan year-to-date, just a small miss of $2,100. And showing a positive variance of $7,800 through the first 3 months of the year. And the marina is also a positive variance of $685 after 3 months. Member services is right on plan, and actually our stables operation is making just a little money, $3,000 on a plan to lose $1,100 for a $4,100 positive variance to plan. So with revenues of $793, we have a positive variance of $122,671. Taking a look at our payroll, as was mentioned earlier, total revenues for January, 503, budget was 521. You can see the labor, we spent $7,966 less than our budget, and compared to prior year, just $7,000 over prior year numbers. Year-to-date total revenues up $38,000, and more importantly, as Mr. Cote mentioned, up $95,000 compared to prior year. Cost of labor, taxes and benefits, because we are short-staffed, it's a positive variance of $36,000 for the year. And we spent just $4,000 more than last year at this time. When you look at our allocation, this is for the month of January, you can see the revenues and expenses and all the income that we talked about. The allocation is under indirect overhead. It's where we allocate the G&A expenses out to each department. And then the net cost is then listed, and you come up with $343,000. If you look on the far right-hand column, that's the $90.75, and that's how much each amenity costs for the month of January. And you can see food and beverage, because of January, a little bit higher than we'd like to see. Golf is usually our highest amenity, and security. And look at roads and grounds, because we don't have the revenue for a building that cost each member $21.53 for the month. And you can see the rest of the numbers there. Taking it down to the bottom line, member assessments of $277,000 and fees of $20,000 for a negative variance of $46,707. Let me go get a little drink of water here. Okay, year-to-date numbers. First of all, you can see we're at 3,055 members. That is 5 more than we started the year with. Golf, year-to-date, $94,000 in revenue. Let's just look at the, over on the right-hand side, we'll look at the indirect overhead costs. And then, so this is through the first quarter. So we have 3 months to look at. And you can see it's falling a little bit more in line with what normal trends would be. Although you can still see the roads and grounds being the highest costing amenity after 3 months, golf being the next highest costing amenity, then security at 46, and the rest of the amenities all the way down to the stables only cost each member for those 3 months 47 cents. So our total member assessments, $831,866. Add the fees to it of $74,445, and our net surplus, as was mentioned earlier, $73,926. Capital expenditure report.
Michael, I'd like to add just one thing to the operations.
Sure.
I think from the comment I got, I might have left a bad impression that January was all bad. It wasn't all bad, because I'd like to just point out that although our gross profit for the month of January missed the mark by $26,000, our total expenditures were positive, offset that. So that's an indication that management was managing the business as it went along. So our operating cost for the same period improved by 24, which offset the loss. I just wanted to make that point.
Thank you, Mr. Cote. Capital projects completed. You can see all these projects that have been completed, just some of the major ones: pool replaster, telephone system and towers, front entrance road, Westover drainage, drainage animations, that's with a LiDAR system. Now we can look at individual areas of the association, and with the LiDAR animation, it'll tell us based on how much rainfall over a certain area, where that water goes, and how fast it goes to certain areas. And that's going to be invaluable for the infrastructure committee as they look at all of our drainage situations.
With respect to that, Michael, have we gotten any complaints over these past weeks of rain?
No, we have not. No.
Well, that's good.
Impact gym lighting, $8,500. Kudos to Keith Casterlin for finding a LED system that was 70% subsidized. And so actually at the member orientation on Monday, the pickleball representative was extremely complimentary on the new lighting in the gym. So good job to Keith for saving the association a lot of money over the years.
So that savings you're showing was installation, but also we're getting more light for less amps, and so over the years it's going to be lower cost.
Absolutely, yeah. And a 10-year life cycle on the light bulbs. West Circle improvements have been talked about. Pro Shop and 19th Hole Design, Marina Dock and Fuel System going in as we speak. Gain entry system, we are working with the provider to load all of our membership data into the system. Community Gardens is underway. The bunker liners, if you've been on the golf course, you know that project has been started. And our skid steer will be here any day. And Mr. Treasurer, Mr. Cote, that concludes my report for this month.
So we're doing good, right? We didn't go bankrupt our last month in office. Is that right? Okay. Just kidding. Old business. We have no old business and new business. We have 2 items. Item B is the application for expenditure for our irrigation design. Do we have a motion?
Yeah. I want to hear it. It's got this all closed. Yeah.
Is it? Okay. All right, there we go. Now I can hear it. Mr. President, I want to present ACE number 18-10-07A, and this is for irrigation design for the Pecan Golf Course.
That's a motion for approval. Do we have a second?
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion.
This was a project that was initially proposed, I guess, back in 1997 or so we've been waiting 20 years to move forward with replacing the irrigation system on the Pecan Golf Course. We've taken the first steps, and this first step is to actually have an irrigation design company come out, take a look at what it's going to cost to ultimately complete this project. This is not a request to fund the new golf course irrigation project. This is simply for the irrigation design to make sure we know what we're doing. Just a commentary that had this been done 20 years ago, we would have probably done it for a lot less than the current cost that we will probably look at in 2019 and 2020. This is a 2-year project, as Bob stated earlier. But at this point, we're looking to start the design phase to see what the ultimate cost would be at the point we decide to go forward.
So the design, we will hire a design consultant.
And the cost range for that is between $23,900 and $26,304.
So we will hire a design consultant, and if that design then is approved by the board, that project will begin in 2019. Any questions? Any further? Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. President, I have one here. I'd like to make a comment that this project that's coming up is not an optional one. It's one it needs to be done. It's not something that we can, if we want a golf course, this project has to go forward. So I just want to make that comment. This is not an optional kind of thing. It's something that has to be done.
Yeah, I'd like to make a few comments also. This is the first step in approving the new irrigation, which it was originally last year. It was scheduled for 2022. The GM and the president of the board has moved that up to 2019. He made the statement that our capital asset reserve is funded, fully funded. Well, it's really not. Everything competes against that capital asset fund. $1.8 million is the estimated cost for that irrigation project. And that'll be a substantial improvement. And it's something that I agree needs to be done, but it competes against all the other projects that we want to get done, that we would like to get done. So the $1.8 million, if you divide that by the 3,000 residents, that comes out to $600 of members' assessments. That's $600. If you divide that up over 5 years, that comes out to about $9 a month. That's about the same thing that we are asking to do the 19th hole, the marina, the pro shop, the improvements that also need to be done, and they are competing against the irrigation. Now, I'm not saying I'm against the irrigation. I am for the irrigation, but it's competition. You know, it's something that the board needs to look at, and the board will make the decision on 2019 and 2020, and we split it up over 2 years in order to make it fundable. We don't have the money to do it in one year. So, but splitting it in half, it works fine. And in the budget process, the first run of the budget, our capital asset fund was underfunded significantly. We had an issue with it. I made a big fuss about it and worked with the GM for almost 2 weeks until we came up with a solution and got the capital asset funding corrected so that we did not go negative or below that magic $500,000 a year. Now, some of that was not doing the tee boxes and not doing some of the fairways on the golf course that were scheduled to be done in the next couple of years. Now, a lot of that will be self-correcting when we put in a new irrigation system. And right now it's difficult to get the tee boxes watered, so this is going to fix that. So it kind of works out okay. But I bring that up because we have 1,000 golfers. A third of our community is golfers. And we're spending a significant amount of capital assets on the golf course. And we are a golf community, and that golf course supports our property values. So it's very important to all of us. But I would like to think that there would be 1,000 people out there that are going to vote yes on ballot 1 and ballot 2. And I hope it works out fine.
I hope so too. Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? The motion passes. Thank you. Okay, we have another item for committee management recommendations requiring board action, and this has to do with the an initiative that was started very late in the process last year, and so I wonder if anyone on the board would like to describe it and make a motion.
Yes, I'd like to request from the House Food and Beverage Committee for permission to solicit signatures of the registered Hood County voters for a petition to place a proposition on the November 6th ballot to change Precinct 2 from a dry to a wet precinct. Now, Lou Turner happens to be here.
That's a form of a motion, Joe?
Yeah, that's a motion, yes.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Okay, discussion, Joe?
Discussion, I would like the chairman of the Food and Beverage Commission committee to stand up and tell us a little bit more about it. Because it's important, because last year we did not make the deadline, and we were trying. You're going to have to use a mic.
Last year, we got a late start for any number of reasons, many of which are unacceptable. But this year, we had plenty of time to have a 60-day window to gather these signatures. There are a number of things that we have to do first in terms of advertising it in the paper, having it go before the county commissioners board, and then, of course, doing the signature issue. But the issue that we're trying to resolve is to give our club facility and our accounting system some ease in terms of how we have to account for dealing with our members and guests on the sale of alcohol beverages, and from the club's point of view, on our purchasing ability. Hopefully there'll be a way that we can be a little bit more competitive on what we buy and from whom we buy it. And in order to do that, by going from dry to wet, it would allow us to change our liquor license for the club to give us those advantages. So I think we got a very, very good response last year in the short period that we were working on this campaign. We will have the actual signature gathering sometime from mid-May to mid-July, and that will give us a full 60 days, and we'll be able to meet all the gates, and we certainly would appreciate all of your support for this endeavor. Any questions? Lou Turner.
Yeah, just I ask a question for you, Lou. Just for clarification, right now, because we are dry, we have to buy our liquor at retail prices from state-certified liquor stores.
Yes and no. Most everyone there are designated agencies that can sell to private clubs, and there is a general agreement that we are able to buy at cost plus a percentage above that. We can't go right now directly to a distributor. We have to go through a retail agency.
Right, and with this, we'll be able to change our liquor license and be able to not only buy directly from the distributor, but the distributor will deliver to us, and we won't have to go get them.
There are a number of things that we would need to negotiate in order to get the best deal for the club, yes. But we at least have those options that we do not have today. Yep.
Will it be any different from the PABC, way we deal with PABC?
No. Those guys have their own rules, and we live with them whether we like them or not.
A lot less record keeping.
Yeah, there's a lot of record keeping, and it's very cumbersome and costly the way we have to do it to comply with their laws.
And I'm sorry, this discussion time's for the board, so I'd like to also make note that it's been speculated by 2020, Pecan Plantation will be Precinct 2. Right now, Precinct 2 includes area outside, I know outside the back gate, out Mambrino Highway. I'm not sure about the front gate.
Out the back gate, all the way to 144 and up to Grumpy's.
So as we grow, and it will become our own precinct, and this kind of a petition or activity will just be within the confines of the community.
However, during this cycle, it will involve all those other areas too.
So, and how many signatures will we need, Lou?
1,601.
Okay. And how many did we get last year?
1,100.
Huh?
1,100.
So we
in 10 days.
Yeah, in 10 days we got 1,100. We just need 500 more, and we have 2 months to do it. Any other comments or questions? Okay.
The signatures we got previously, I mean, we have to start all over again, right? Yeah, okay.
Okay, I know there are questions from the audience, but I don't want to fall into a open discussion, and so we'll just move on. We need to move on this motion. We have a motion and a second to approve. We had a second. Yeah, Bob did. So all those in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much. Next item is management report. Mr. Bartholomew.
No, we got one other issue.
Sorry, yes, we do. And I have the old, I'm sorry. So we have item C, which is approval of the Board Audit Committee minutes from February 14th and the 23rd. Sorry, Mike.
Actually, there's a I'll make a motion here that we approve the minutes of the Board Audit Committee meetings of February 20th and February 23rd.
I'll second that motion.
So we have a motion and a second. Bob, you want to describe this?
Yeah, Mr. President. The first meeting was held on February 20th, and it was to address the need for an internal audit process of some kind within our company. You know, most companies that are bigger than us have an internal audit group or department within their companies to independently check and test on the system of internal controls and the checks and balances and that kind of stuff like that. Well, we're too small to have a permanent internal audit group. So what we did was we met in the audit committee, and we unanimously agreed that we should hire a consultant, internal audit professionally qualified person on a consultant basis, much like we contract for our lawyers, our outside lawyers. We use them when we need them, and we pay them based on a contract that we will agree to. So basically what we have here is a committee unanimously agreed that we should move forward and hire this consultant, and that's what the minutes of the first meeting was about. The second meeting was held on February 23rd, and it was we're required to meet with the outside auditors according to our policy and soon-to-be bylaw. And so we met with Jeff Horner and Monty Hudson, who are the auditors of the independent auditing firm of Rylander, Clary, Opitz, our outside auditors. And basically what we did was have an exit interview with them as to the audit and major findings or anything like that. And the audit was reasonably, it was acceptable. The financial statement is sound. They gave a good statement, but there were a couple of internal control issues there. Not significant, but something that we will be addressing in the future. That's in the minutes. So we'd like to enter these into the minutes, into the record, for the record.
Mr. President, I just have one, actually two changes to make. One involves the spelling of my name at the top of each set of minutes. And the second one, Bob, I could be wrong, but I think the name of the accounting firm is Rylander Clay in Opitz, not Clary.
Clay, I think you're right. Correct.
And also, there are some grammatical changes that we discussed in the last paragraph of the minutes from February 20th.
Yeah, I have that one here, Bob. On the February 20 meeting, the second line, the third line from the bottom, where it says recommending that in future cash balances report that remarks B. It says there's a word "to" there, to be added. Change that word "to" to B, B-E.
Okay,
All right?
that's good.
So we should approve it as amended, I guess. Bob.
So this is an unusual activity. This is a board committee, and first of all, I'd like to acknowledge Bob Cote's role in the 2 years he's been on the board. He has worked very hard to educate us on the need for additional internal controls to protect our finances, and part of that process is to make more appropriate the external audit that will be conducted on our finances in the future. So that's what this is about. Any other comments or discussion? If not, there is a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mary, I'd like to, you have a copy, you have copies of these for the record? Okay, thank you.
With those changes?
Yeah, the motion would be read as corrected. Okay, management report. Mr. Bartholomew.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very happy to announce that we have hired a new security supervisor. His name is Harold Adelott, A-Y-D-E-L-O-T-T. His previous position was security supervisor at Mira Vista, a gated community in Fort Worth, former law enforcement officer for the Toller Police Department, and worked with Southwest Airlines as a corporate security specialist, in addition to being a police officer in Little Rock. So very happy to have Harold. He'll begin on Monday, March the 5th. I also have a couple of internal promotions. Melissa Aguilar went from accounts payable. She is now our member services representative, handling all the new members that come in and also the new member orientations. And also Sierra Barina has been moved to AP clerk to take Melissa's spot. And as was mentioned earlier, we'd like to welcome Judith Bandy one more time. Her first issue of the columns will be in April. She's doing a great job, and she's hit the ground running, so we expect great things for her. Committees, starting tomorrow, you can sign up for committees. Even though you served on the committee this year, please sign up again. That committee list will be up during the month of March. Committee chairs will be chosen at the April board meeting. The committees will be formed during the month of April, and the first meeting for the committees will be in May. Project update, Mr. Van Patten, could you, since this just happened, could you give us an update on the Westover drainage project?
So any of you that have gone down Westover lately have noticed there's a section of the road that's actually collapsed. What happened there, we started excavating today, and we did find a hole in the sanitary sewer line that was installed under the road. This is 100% on the contractor, and they're in the process of fixing it now. So hopefully it'll be restored back to normal condition in a couple of weeks. There is another issue where we had the delay with Encore on that particular project as well, where they bored under the road for their electrical line, and that area of the road has also settled. So that will have to be settled through with Encore. And I do have the contractor lined up to take care of that section of road as well.
So we'll have the contractor take care of it and bill Encore, basically?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions about the...
How long is it going to take to complete it?
It's going to depend on weather, but I'm hoping in a couple of weeks we should be back in action. They've already located the main issue and sealed it with concrete, and then it's just a matter of putting dry base back in, restabilizing the subgrade, and cement stabilizing the road base and repaving it.
So that damage, it wasn't caused by the rain, though. That just was...
Definitely 100% by rain.
It was?
Correct. There was a odd angle in the pipe on one of the inlets, and unfortunately they didn't get one section of it sealed, so we ended up with about a grapefruit-sized hole in the back of the pipe, and water infiltrated that area and just started washing it out.
Thank you, Daniel. Unless there's any other questions? Okay, appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, wait, talk to us about the guardrail.
The guardrail is scheduled to be completed next week.
How far on each end will it be extended?
It will be extended on the oncoming side to the full length of the extended member lane.
And how far north towards the developer's office?
That's north towards the developer's office. It'll be the full length of the extended member lane.
Okay, and it's
not going south.
any further than it's now down. Okay,
correct.
That's good. Okay.
I'm assuming that was covered by their insurance, who hit it?
We have not even attempted contacting them. The rail was scheduled to be extended anyway. The damage versus the extension is minimal as far as cost goes.
Can you go look at the crash barrier like they do on the highway, whatever?
No, it will have the same. It'll have the same SET treatment that it currently has on it, and it functioned well when it was struck.
So it did give?
Yes.
It worked the way it was supposed to then?
Correct.
Yeah. And I'd like to, I'm curious, the reconstruction or the widening of 167 from Farm Road 4 to our entrance is completed. Will it get a overlay of asphalt and repainting, or are we stuck with it the way it is?
No, that is scheduled to be overlaid, and it's next on the list. As soon as they finish what they're doing on 4, they're supposed to move over to 167.
I have another item.
Yeah.
I drove out the back gate and took 144 into Granbury yesterday,
Yes.
and it looks like there's maybe a half-inch layer of asphalt on that road, and it's all coming off. Have you
On
seen?
144?
Yeah.
Correct. That is actually microsurfacing. We have the same product on Plantation Drive. For those of you who drive down Plantation Drive, you can see it has also started to come up in several sections. I did get with the manufacturer of that product. They were supposed to come out this week and show me how to make a slurry in a bucket. They never showed, so we experimented with several different types of patches, and I think I found one that will work. And we have patched all of the spots that are delaminated on Plantation. However, that delamination is not going to stop. There will be multiple points of patching on Plantation.
Tell me the name again of that process.
It's microsurfacing.
And there's another one called ultra thin.
Yes, the ultra thin hot mix that the state's starting to adopt is actually what is right outside of the back gate, and that continues down to Contrary Creek Road or Hayworth Highway.
Right.
And that seems to be performing very well, and the state's starting to use it in a lot of areas, and that's what I will recommend us using in the future rather than the microsurfacing.
144 had been paved, and it looks terrible now.
Right.
Yeah.
That new product is going to go on 167. Is that what you think they're going to use on 167?
I do not know that for sure, that's the new product that they'll be using.
Then do you know any of the cost differences between the two methods?
Right now, the ultra-thin hot mix is running about 2/3 of the cost of microsurfacing, but it has a much more extended life than the microsurfacing, and you don't have the issues with micro that everyone is experiencing.
Any other questions for Daniel? Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate that. Just a couple other items. Tomorrow night's catfish buffet, always a big night, so make your reservations. Prime rib night coming up on March the 16th, and DJ Keith will be hosting another karaoke night, Lucky Clover Karaoke, on March 17th. The Women's Club does a lot of things for pecan plantation and area charities throughout Hood County. One of the major fundraisers is coming up, the Boot Scooting Dance on March 24th. Dance to the Randy Tartovich and the 92nd Roadhouse Band. There'll be a big text raffle, boot box, and a silent auction. This event is extremely popular. Make your reservations or you will not be able to get in. And that concludes my management report for this month. Mr. President, I'll turn it back to you.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I'd like to commend Michael on the hire of our new security supervisor. Mr. Gordon Johnson, the chairman of the Security Committee, and I participated in the final interview of Mr. Adelaide, and I think the membership will be very receptive to that new hire. I think he'll be good for the community.
Thank you. Good. Special meeting for us, and I'd just like to extend the meeting for a minute or two if there's anyone else on the board that wants to make a comment. I'd like to acknowledge that Roger Eads has been elected president-elect, and we wish him the best of luck in the coming year.
Great way to put that, Bob.
And I would also point out that in addition to seating the new members, we will elect the vice president, secretary, and treasurer from the current board to take their positions before we install the new members on Saturday. If there's nothing further, then this meeting is adjourned.